Welcome to Chemical Reactions, the podcast where we explore the latest insights and innovations in liquid bulk transportation, chemical manufacturing, and other facets of the chemical industry. Presented by Matlack Leasing, your partner for liquid bulk trailer leasing solutions. Now here's your host, Alex Steakley.
Hey guys, welcome back to Chemical Reactions. Today I've got Patrick Maher, Chief Commercial Officer for Grammar Logistics. How's it going, Patrick?
Doing great. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah. So we've worked together in the past, but I don't think we've ever just sat down and kind of talked about, your background. So how'd you get into transportation just in general?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And this is it's awesome what you're doing right now and the setup that you guys have here. And I think this is going to do great things for the bulk industry just in general, like we've talked about. So I know y'all are just getting started, but this is fantastic. So
thanks, man.
Appreciate the opportunity. And so I've been in the transportation business now for right at 22 years. Okay. Didn't set out on this journey to be in transportation like a lot of people. Started my career at night transportation on the dry van side. Backing up a little bit, went to school as a finance major at LSU. Go Tigers! I had to do that right down the road, and didn't see myself necessarily in a career directly in finance. And the thing that ended up really just drawing me to night transportation specifically wasn't necessarily the transportation industry, but the fact that I did my research and night transportation was one of the fastest growing companies in the U.S. at the time, and thinking about opportunity, right? Wanted to latch myself onto a publicly traded company, one that was growing, and that was really the extent of it. Didn't know anything about transportation and logistics. But jumped right into it, and I would tell you, 2 weeks after graduating, was dispatching trucks for them in their Gulfport, Mississippi terminal. This is all before Katrina, and just had a great time. We had a great team over there, and learned a ton, and just kind of fell in love with it. Fell in love with, the aspect of just putting a good day's work together for a driver on one side and being involved in that person's success. And then on the other side of the table, dealing with customers and being involved with their success, and kind of that guy that's putting it all together. Yeah. I really didn't expect that. And it was fun. Yeah. And that's how I kind of jumped into it. And, fast forward with that stop, about a year later, I was put into a sales position, an outside sales position. Which, in retrospect was way too young to be out there, right? You could say just a year or two into the business, had done dispatch, had done operations, but to be out there, in front of customers with kind of that level of experience was a little bit daunting. Yeah. But, you learn through trial and error, and here we are today.
Well, and I think you mentioned being able to dispatch and having that operations background. I think in transport and in other sales capacities, but really transport, I think that gives you an edge when you see the business from an operational side, and the inner workings of how to dispatch a truck, where your trucks are coming from, coming off a load, going to another load, downtime, stuff like that. I would think that's a big benefit to your sales repertoire.
It's huge. It's huge. And it even comes into now, hiring salespeople and developing salespeople. We absolutely look for operational, experience. You really need to know the business and know the ins and outs of it before you can sit across the table and sell it. I mean, selling is about trust and credibility. It's not just about developing relationships, but it's about even challenging things sometimes. It's about finding solutions, and the only way that you can effectively do that is if you've got that experience. Yeah. I've been fortunate in my career to have a lot of experience outside of business development within different companies, and then even in roles of business development, we are so intertwined with operations, we're really one and the same, right? We have different roles, we have different responsibilities, but I spend as much time with operations each and every day that I do with, customers and sales teams.
Yeah. Without the truck and the driver, you got nothing to sell, right?
It's totally intertwined. And so, look, breaking down those silos and organizations is really, really important, and something you got to continue working towards. They can build up, but especially in transportation, no matter the size of the company, whether you like it or not, sales and operations are
got to play nice together.
At the hip. Yep, you're joined at the hip.
You talked about, getting thrown out there pretty young at night transportation, a year in. What were some of the challenges that you saw as a salesperson for night, or just in general with transport? What do you think some of the big barriers are that salespeople face in transport?
Yeah, look, I think for me personally, something that I had to overcome to start was just age, right? I mean, I was pretty young, right? And I would say, it's an industry, depending on what niche you're in, can be, very kind of closed off. I mean, people have been in that industry or that product line or that mode of transportation for a very long time, and so you're kind of the new person. So I think I had to work probably extra hard to really develop that trust and credibility with my customers. And the way that I did it was just by, taking care of problems with them, being available 24/7 if it needed to be, a Saturday, a Sunday. Once you do that a couple times, they come back to you, right? And then it's not so much you're in there selling to them. Now you're a trusted advisor. You could be a consultant. That doesn't happen day one, but that's what started to kind of evolve. But look, there were missteps that, you make along the way, and then you learn from them. You just don't, kind of know any better. I'll give you one kind of quick story. I had a new customer that was, for me, it was a new customer, and it was at a large, I won't name the name of the large distribution center on the east side of town. And I was sent in there probably just a couple weeks in, and I was sent in there to what I thought to do an introduction, right? And so didn't prepare that much, didn't ask a lot of questions, just went in there. And to my surprise, there were 4 gentlemen that were ready to meet me, and they appreciated the fact that I was there, but they were looking for corrective action. They were looking for a plan that apparently had been promised to them for a period of time, and I was supposed to deliver that, and I had no clue about it, right? And I remember it was an awkward meeting. We were able to get through it, but I remember leaving that meeting and kind of getting in my car and sitting there and going, I don't ever want that to happen again, right? Maybe somebody should have told me about it, but I probably should have asked some questions and been a little bit more curious before I went into that meeting and prepared more. And so moving forward, it's like, you don't want any surprises. Really ask questions, be prepared before you sit in front of somebody, and don't wing it, right?
So you move from night transport. Your next stop is Gulf Winds, right?
I did, yeah.
How'd you move from night transport to Gulf Winds? What drew you to that opportunity?
At that time, Gulf Winds is a huge success story in our industry, and at that time they were looking for someone who had truckload experience, who would be able to come in and manage their domestic transportation and potentially open and grow a brokerage division.
Okay.
And so that was the draw for me moving over there, was I could take my truckload experience over there, but I could learn something new and broaden my horizons, within transportation. The international piece really kind of spoke to me. I mean, it's kind of cool, right? Ports, containers, ships. It was totally different, and they've got a really cool niche in the industry, doing import export, and it was just a nice growth opportunity for me at the time, a change. Little did I know when I went there what type of growth trajectory we would be on as a company, and ended up being there for about 15 years.
Yeah, you grew with them. I mean, I don't know what level you started at, but you worked your way up to like EVP, right?
Yeah, and I bounced around a lot at that company too. I mean, we, of course, the domestic transportation, was part of it, but At that company, we all wore a lot of different hats. When you're growing, you do a lot of different things. So, had stops in safety. Mm-hmm. I had stops in customer service and driver recruiting, of course, sales, and just didn't know at the time all the different areas that I was getting exposed to and learning the business, but then ultimately helped me when they needed me in that lead sales role. Was able to kind of fall back on a lot of that. The time period that was going on too is kind of interesting in Houston because this is probably 2012, 2013, and oil and gas was picking up.
Yeah.
And even though I had some different roles in the company, I was able to develop a lot of contacts within oil and gas, mm-hmm. and I almost kind of did it on the side. I wasn't officially in sales, but was working on a lot of oil and gas related projects for us and business development and, bringing that back. And we really put together a nice oil and gas division during that time and really rode, a nice little wave of, of production as that was increasing, especially out in West Texas and South Texas.
Yeah. And then, all those experiences lead you to Chief Commercial Officer at Grammer. How did that opportunity kind of come about?
Yeah, kind of there's a theme going on where just broadening horizons and, not being scared to take risks and mm-hmm. going into even another, mode of transportation. I've obviously only made 3 stops in my career, but they've been at 3 different modes of transportation. Yeah. That opportunity just kind of, again, came out of the blue. And it was something that intrigued me. I think the biggest thing for me about Grammer was how successful Grammer had been as call it a medium-sized bulk mm-hmm. company within some real niche spaces within bulk. But let's be honest, without a huge, sales team or marketing team, a lot of those things were just kind of happening organically. Yeah. And so looking at their record of safety, looking at their record of service, the reputation in the industry, just that solid foundation that Grammer had, it was very intriguing for me, on the commercial side to look at it and go, okay, there's a lot here that can be built off of.
Yeah.
That we've got such a strong foundation, kind of come in here with a certain blueprint. And that's what we've done over the last 4 years. We've been able to grow into some different spaces, mm-hmm. One of which the chemical industry. Grammer's always done chemical, but it's one thing to do chemical, 407, petrochem. It's another thing to have a strategy around it, a growth strategy and build a team and all that. And so that's been a big part of it. And then just growing our core and making sure that, that's something that we're the best that we can be in that space too.
And for people that might just be new to the chemical transport space or just watching this for the first time, give us a little rundown of Grammer. How many terminals you got, where you running, just a quick, 1,000-foot fly.
Yeah, the old elevator speech, right?
Yep.
So Grammer is a 50-year-old bulk carrier based in the Midwest, Columbus, Indiana, and really had our start in agriculture, mm-hmm. As you would expect in the Midwest, and all the commodities that chemical commodities that run out of agriculture. Fast forward to today, right at about 500 trucks. Terminal network being east of the Mississippi, as we call it, mm-hmm. Which is a pretty big geography. If you take the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast, and then down into Texas and Louisiana, expanding as far out as West Texas. We've got a terminal out in Odessa now. And then we kind of have a saying that we don't really like to limit ourselves to our geography because we have a lot of opportunities that come up in the spaces that we operate to actually go west and to just move trucks as needed. We're a very flexible, kind of dynamic company. We're not a traditional bulk carrier that's kind of set in our ways in terms of our terminal network.
Yeah.
It's just the products that we haul don't allow us to necessarily do that. Would be great if that happened, but we kind of have to move as our customers need us to move and rove, for their business. So that's given Grammer, I'd say some advantages in the market in terms of being flexible. The 3 main product lines that we haul. Again, the agriculture side, it's predominantly ammonia, and the fertilizer business is really core to us. And then also we do a lot within the gases space.
Okay.
Natural gas liquids. You use the same, as you know, the same type of tank.
Yep.
An MC 331 pressurized unit. So that's really the core, as you could say. And then getting into the broader chemical industry, and really that was done really off of a need and a strategy to diversify the business.
Yeah.
Right, and to be able to handle more for customers. So the story on chemical is, we jumped in and really started to strategize that post-COVID.
Okay.
At the ask of our customers. This wasn't like we sat in a room and said, "Oh, let's jump into that."
Yeah.
We had customers and contacts of ours that were saying, "Hey, we need y'all's help, and we need it now. And what can you do?" And so, pretty interesting to take to be kind of the new guy in that space.
Mm-hmm.
But once we were able to get over that barrier, right, name recognition, we don't quite know who you guys are and tell the story of what we've been doing for the last 50 years. The record of safety and service, it really resonated with customers.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, this makes sense, and what can we do? So fast forward on that division today, it's the smaller of the three, but we've got a pretty sizable fleet that's running, again, east of the Mississippi, predominantly in the Gulf and the Southeast, and then also up in the Midwest.
Yeah. And you mentioned flexibility, shameless plug for tank leasing. What goes into Grammer's strategy for when you buy equipment versus when you lease equipment? What kind of metrics are you looking at? Is it just length of term, length of project? What do you look for?
I think it depends on a couple things. I mean, it always depends, and I can only speak for Grammer. This is probably true for other trucking companies as well. It kind of depends on what's going on in the business at that time. From a CapEx perspective, it depends on the type of trailer, right? And are you really in that business for the long haul?
Yeah.
And do you have customer support, right, across a broad range of customers versus maybe a one-time project or maybe something that's a little bit newer? So I think, again, if it's more core to your business, obviously owning, makes sense for the long term. If you're not quite sure, or it's more a lot of times on the customer side, you're not quite sure of what they're going to be doing and what their needs are going to be, leasing tends to make more sense because it's flexible.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think you'd always love to own, but there's definitely a market for, and there probably always will be, right? I mean, you sell it every day. There's a market, and there always will be for leasing, and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense for Grammer, and we obviously we do both. But it's nice to be able to compare and contrast both.
Yeah, and as Chief Commercial Officer, you're on the front lines of making those decisions. What's a normal day in a CCO for Grammer look like? I mean, strategy-wise, leading people, kind of moving from an independent and individual contributor role to now managing a whole sales vertical. What kind of had to shift in your mindset, or has there been a shift, or do you kind of still utilize the same principles?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we're always growing, right? Mm-hmm. And changing and looking to get better. Our team is, I am personally, and so I think the shift for me, probably over the years has been a couple things, and I've learned this from other people, right? Number one is the higher you move up in organization, the more important it is to be able to look at things objectively, right? There's a lot of half-truths that are out there, as we like to call it. And so it's very important to get both sides, right, to really take a step back and analyze the situation, the business, the strategy, the issue that's at hand, and not just take it right away at face value, and obviously get emotional about it and all those things. So I think that's been a shift, probably for any leader, and it's very much needed, I think, in organizations, because you don't want to be kind of being tossed to and fro in the business, because at the end of the day, the rest of the if the leader's like that, the rest of the organization picks up on it, and it creates a lot of issues and chaos. And then the other thing I think is just more kind of practical that I've learned over the years, and that's to have a system.
Yeah.
It's important to me to have systems in place. We've been able to hire some great people. A lot of them at Grammar. So it starts obviously with having great people, which is kind of glaring statement of the obvious. But once you have good people, then it's about, okay, what process and systems am I putting them into?
Yeah.
And can they be successful at that? Whether it's our sales process, whether it's how we onboard customers, whether it's how we do pricing, like, can I give them clear guardrails and clear direction to then go execute, right? Because if they're really good at what they do, which they are, they still need those systems. And then just from like more of a sales management standpoint, we have what we call a cadence of accountability.
Yeah.
And so the cadence of accountability is just you're getting into a rhythm, and you kind of do the same thing every week in terms of what we report on and what we talk about and when we talk about it. And so it kind of makes things more efficient, so that we can give our salespeople and our operations people space to go execute on the business. Yeah. And we're not just chasing things all day long. Yeah. What's the tyranny of the urgent, right? Mm-hmm. as they call it, which can happen in trucking, right? I mean, everything's urgent. Yeah. At the end of the day, so you have to kind of create some systems and stuff around that.
Yeah. And I mean, you've created good systems. I know from firsthand experience. So getting, the pulse of the industry, kind of from your salespeople, you're monitoring the market. What's your take on where we're at in liquid bulk transportation right now? I mean, what's the back half of the year look like? What's the next year, 2 years, 5 years? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, it's look, I think the industry's been it's been a tough couple of years, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of companies, including us, I mean, we're holding our own. We're trying to grow into different areas, trying to continue to invest in the business at a time when volumes have been down. We're kind of in that cycle. Mm-hmm. Customer volumes have been down a little bit. Depends on where you operate. It's not, you can't broad brush it, across. There's some areas that are doing really, really well, and then there's some areas that are, that are struggling. But look, in any cycle, the longer it goes, the more as a industry, and this is something that we talk to customers about, you have to start to get concerned about how much capacity has exited out of the industry, because the longer it goes, be it drivers, be it companies kind of change strategies, they go move to something else, and the broader market doesn't always understand that. You can't see it, but it's happening. And so I think a lot of that's happened over the last couple of years, where there's probably more capacity on the bulk side that's probably exited, and it could be temporary, right? Yeah. But fleets have kind of maybe downsized in a certain area, and the market really doesn't know and understand that. And then when you see a storm happen, you see winter weather, right? You see the economy start to pick up in a certain area, and just a little bit of change in that dial, and it gets exposed. Yeah. I think that's what everybody just needs to be aware of. We've been saying it, probably us and every other trucking company probably says the same thing to our customers, and you've been saying it now for, probably a year and a half, 2 years. It doesn't mean that it's not there. It just hasn't quite happened yet. So back to your question, second half of the year, I wish I had a crystal ball. I wish I knew. But I do expect at some point in time, second half of the year, especially as the tariffs, which we don't know anything, that could all change tomorrow. But as the market kind of adjusts for the tariffs, and it always does adjust, and that starts to subside a little bit, barring new ones.
Yeah.
You should start to see maybe an uptick, and I expect capacity to tighten. And once it starts to tighten on the bulk side, because everything is so niche, and because we all have very specialized drivers and very specialized equipment, and it's not all interchangeable, right? Down to the karting, down to the training, it can tighten up very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And, look, people just need to be aware and be making plans. We watch it really closely because if we kind of sense it's happening, we want to make sure our customers understand as best we can. But I definitely think it's going to tighten. Just don't know when.
Yeah. In a tough market, and we should always be practicing this, whether it's a lean market or a bull market. What are you guys doing to kind of differentiate yourselves from the other carriers to make sure that you're gaining market share or not losing your customers? I mean, is there any new technology that you're implementing or any new systems that you're putting in place to kind of help customers with different issues that they're facing?
Yeah, look, I mean, we're always investing back in the business. We're continuing investing in technology, continuing investing in tons of stuff around our safety group, our driver training, our driver engagement. A lot of the work that we do is centered around the drivers to start. We're a responsible care partner, so there's a lot of processes that we follow, that we audit continually, that make us better as a company. And then look, I think from the technology side, a lot of what we work on is automation.
Yeah.
Automation within the business, automation within our operations group, really every group. And the whole thought process around automation is not to eliminate jobs, right? It's to enhance those jobs and to make them more efficient, and to pull certain tasks and automate certain tasks so that our people can really develop solutions and relationships and really work hand in hand with our customers and our drivers. Because at the end of the day, it's technology is great, but this is still very much a people business, a relationship business, and there's a lot of complexity within what we do, right? And with each customer and each product line, that technology is only going to take you, and automation is only going to take you so far. So use it to your benefit, but then really make sure we're freeing up our people and our teams to tackle the more complex stuff.
Yeah. I call y'all one of the largest mid-sized carriers, or the smaller large carriers, as one of those players, a substantial player in the market, and managing 3 different verticals. What are some of the challenges that you guys face on a day-to-day basis, just with inner workings with one vertical talking to another, or operations managing equipment? What are some of the main challenges that you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the challenges, like in any company, or especially in bulk, are handling different product lines and products, and not being as interchangeable as you like. I kind of sometimes think back to doing business at a port where we had a ship come in, and you could platoon in and send in really any driver, and it came down to really down to the type of chassis that they had.
Yeah. You got binders and chains? Okay, get on out of here.
Exactly. And there wasn't any, everybody was pre-qualified, everybody had TWIC card, these are really good drivers, but there wasn't anything really after that.
Yeah.
And so we've got a laundry list of things, as you know, a checklist.
Doesn't need a pump.
That go after that, and you go to different commodities, and it's the same thing, down to, like I said before, down to the karting, or sometimes individual training at a facility, at a refinery. Right? There's steps we have to take there, so it's not just as easy or as fast, and we'll get it done. But I think there's some of the challenges are the time that can take, in order to do it, effectively.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes into, I think, the broader challenge I think that bulk carriers face is just complexity.
Yeah.
One of the things I've seen over, kind of the evolution of our industry over the last 20 years is I think everybody's gotten better at technology and automation on one side. It certainly feels like, and this isn't, exclusive to bulk. I mean, I'm sure the international folks would say the same thing. I'm sure the domestic folks would say the same thing to some degree. Business feels like it's gotten faster.
Yeah.
Right. We all know that. And then number two, it's gotten more complex in a lot of cases where your customers could be requiring, right, a lot of things now based on their business and what they're being asked to report on and how they're having to manage their business that then flows downstream to transportation providers that then have to react to, a set of rules.
Yeah.
And each set of rules can be different, as you go, down the line. So there's a lot of variables at play, and it seems like there's a lot more complexity. Now, I think the positive spin on that, Alex, is that, if you can figure it out, you're in a really good spot.
Yeah.
Right. And you're entrenched. It works. But it takes a while to get there.
Mm-hmm. And as you're having those conversations with, key accounts and new customers coming on, how are y'all kind of positioning yourself for the future? I know technology and automation is the buzzword of today, but what's something that you're seeing like, hey, if we get really good at this, that's the next wave of kind of taking over this transportation world?
Yeah, look, it's for us the, customers and being, the best service provider that we can be is always, forefront. I'm sure everybody says that. We work really hard to just meet their needs and to meet their needs on an ongoing basis. So I think that's probably the main thing that we focus on.
Yeah. And y'all just what is it? Responsible Care or
Responsible Care?
Yeah, y'all just became a carrier not too long ago.
Partner carrier. Obviously, that's a process.
Yeah.
Takes several years, and very proud of that. That happened in April of this past year. So Responsible Care partner for them, and American Chemistry Council, and now as a Responsible Care partner, that sets up. Now it's great to have it, but now it forces you to run your business in a certain way in terms of process, in terms of having things documented, and then being obviously audited. And so the whole premise of that is it just makes us better as a company, right? It makes us just more efficient. It makes us safer. Makes us a better partner to the chemical industry, and that's really important.
Yeah. And then, I see on LinkedIn all the time you guys are going to different conferences and different speaking events or just chemical events in general. As more and more people kind of, hide behind the phones and the computers, why do you think it's so important to be face-to-face with customers and actually meet in person?
Well, I mean, it's like we said before, it's a relationship business, and I do think it's a key differentiator for Grammar. I think if you hire really good people and you want to put them out there, right? I mean, we don't want people necessarily always behind a phone. We try our best to get them out there, and it's not just sales. I mean, we have our entire company, as much as we can travel and be out there, not just in front of customers, but in front of drivers and doing things in person. Scott Doback, our CEO, is. He'll tell you, and Scott, I mean, he's not a behind the desk CEO. He very much is out in the field every single week, and so I think the company just kind of models that a little bit, and we want to be in front of people as much as possible. There's only so much you can do. On email and phone, and being out there. And look, I think we do some conferences. We don't do, a ton. We need to get value off the ones that we do. But the niche ones that we end up going to, we're there. We want to, be in force, and we want to be different, as much as we can in the marketplace. Transportation can very easily be, just like tank leasing and just like other, things, equipment sales. I mean, it can very easily be commoditized if you let it.
Yeah.
And so I think a key is just always trying to figure out, how we can be different, from our branding to how we present ourselves to what solutions we come up with, what people we hire. There's not a silver bullet to it, but it's more of a thought process than anything else, and just continuing to strive for that. I think if you kind of become status quo on it, it's very easy to, kind of fall back. I mean, just what you're doing. I mean, you're putting yourself out there doing a podcast, right, and bringing people in the industry in. That's different, right? Other people aren't doing it. You would have to think there's,
value in
there's value. There's some kind of edge to it, being a thought leader, right? Trying to drive conversations. We might not have a podcast, but we're trying to do that with customers and even with drivers. Drivers are our customers too. We talk about that too. We've got a couple different channels internally. We've got our internal customers, which are our team members. We've got our external customers, which are our clients, and then we've got our drivers. And we all have to, you have to treat everybody like a customer at the end of the day.
And drivers are, first line of defense to the customer, right? So you treat them well, and they're going to show up and represent you guys well. I know that's kind of the game with drivers. So, you got to kind of do that on the back end. So, I know you said finance degree, right, is what you had?
I did, yeah.
So a lot of people coming into transport, whether it be on the brokerage side or, getting direct with a carrier as a salesperson, or just in the industry in general, are coming in with diverse backgrounds. What advice would you give to somebody that's getting into transportation as a salesperson from either a different industry, or this is their first job? What's something that you would kind of want to pull like a younger Patrick aside and say, hey, if I'd have known this 20 years ago, my career would have been expedited?
Right. I think on transportation, there's a couple things. Number one, patience. Is key. Things don't happen overnight, especially in an industry like ours that really values experience. Right. Degrees are great, but that real world experience is very valuable in transportation. But the only way you get experience is by doing it. Right. And probably doing multiple things. So I think a lot of people don't realize that you need to get well rounded, be willing to do multiple things. Learn, just because you're doing one role today doesn't mean that's what you're doing forever. A lot of people kind of, especially younger folks, tend to think that way.
Get pigeonholed into something.
This is it. Like, this is what I'm going to be doing. And it's probably not further from the truth, right? It's just, can you step back and have, that perspective on it, which probably, only comes with age. And then secondly, just say yes. Like, say yes. Like, if somebody asks you to do something or take on a project or, be involved in something, the more you can say yes, even if it's not what you want to do or what you thought you were going to be doing, there's probably a reason for that. And pull what you can out of that, and then you become a lot more well-rounded. I mean, our industry needs expertise. Like, we all value that expertise in these certain areas. And then the further along you go in your career, it becomes that much more valuable, right? Because there's only so many people that do certain jobs within transportation, especially as you see in people get, that they start to get into one area or the next, and they become more specialized maybe over the years. That experience and what they've been able to do at different companies becomes very valuable, potentially for the next one. And then the third thing I would say, just to somebody younger, in any company really, is find a company that matches your personality
Okay.
in your goals.
Yeah.
Companies go on different patterns, right? Sometimes they're in high growth mode.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're, maybe a little bit more, reserved in some cases. Find that match, right, for you personally, and then find that fit with the company, and then also find that fit with, the teams there and the leaders there that you're going to be working with every day.
Yeah.
Right? Do you mesh with them? Do you have the same ideals, and do you have the same values, right? Because if you do, it can be very, very fun. You can learn from each other. But look, let's be frank. If you don't, it's probably gonna be pretty miserable.
Yeah, I think the one thing I would add is, just from my experience starting with Space City and then kind of moving through my career, is find mentors, right? I mean, I had a guy, Mark Vinisat. He's still over at Space City.
You'll give him a shout out.
Yeah, I'm shouting him out right now. But I mean, him and another guy named Henry Curtis, they really, I didn't know that much about chemical. I came from Rush Truck Center selling large, commercial vehicles to chemical transport companies. But Henry, Mark, they were okay with me asking questions. I was like a sponge. And I would say to a young person getting in this industry, attach yourself at the hip to somebody that knows more than you and just learn.
Yeah.
So, but I want to touch on something else you said, finding a fit. You're a hiring manager. How do you kind of vet that out in the hiring process of who you think is going to be a fit? How do you kind of figure out, okay, this person matches Grammer's personality per se?
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was an exact science to it. It's a little bit gut feel, right? But it's just a lot of interaction and questions, and just conversational type interviews that we have, and you can get a pretty good idea. There's also, like I said, some questions that you can definitely ask to get, kind of straight to the point. A lot of times you'll find, and I interview a lot of people, one, we're a growing company, two, we're always just looking for really good people and talent, whether it's today or maybe 6 months or a year from now. We might be a fit. And then just from a networking standpoint, it's great to talk to people. But one thing we're always trying to determine is the person a good fit for where we are today?
Yeah.
Right? And they could be a great candidate. They could, on paper, be the world's best candidate for what you're looking for. Mm-hmm. But that candidate might not match who I am or who we are as a company.
Or what you need in that moment.
Or what I need in that moment. What do I need over the next 12 to 24 months? How easy is it going to be for them? Or how good of a fit are they going to be able to take their experiences? Because they can't see behind the curtain over here. Take that, and then does that actually translate over here into relationships and new business and people wanting to work here and people being happy and engaged? And if you don't think it's quite there, you need to kind of be careful. We're always just really upfront with people.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll give them the concerns on the front end, like, hey, we're not quite sure this is going to match. We still want to go ahead and do it. We'll work towards that. But just being open and transparent, right? I think especially when you're interviewing people, because it's somebody's career, right? And you want to have those open conversations.
Yeah. As a growing company in chemical transportation that's ever changing, what's something that really excites you about the direction Grammer's going?
I mean, there's a ton, obviously, at Grammer that excites me. I think the biggest thing that we've been able to do over the last 4 years, and just in terms of even with some of the challenges in the market, is we built just a really solid foundation.
Yeah.
And I think once you build that solid foundation, there's a lot of different directions you can go on. One of the biggest areas is just we have a lot more solutions in place right now as I look out over the next 2-3 years than we had previously. And so I get excited about that because you're able to do more for your customers, right? You're able to, we've got a We've got a third-party logistics arm now with Logistics Management Resources, LMR, that's specific to bulk and managed transportation. And, if an issue comes up and a customer's wanting to go that direction, we can now speak to that.
Yeah.
We've got a transload operation in multiple sites that's up and running, and we can go in different places for people. And that's a value add, right?
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't work out, we're able to bring in our expertise, talk rail with them, talk transload.
Yeah.
So there's more to talk about, and that's fun, right? Because you want to develop solutions for people.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be a kind of a one-trick pony.
Yeah.
And so that's what excites me the most.
Yeah, and I was talking off air to somebody about it. I think in a sales role, you always want to be sticky, right? Even if you can't help them directly, if you can give them options and say, hey, we've got rail, hey, we've got LMR, that positions you guys as the first call to a customer that, hey, even if a Grammer truck can't handle it, we can use third-party LMR, we can use rail, we can figure a way out or help you out with something that can, and it just positions you as the first call for a lot of customers going forward.
Yeah, and another thing about it too, and I learned this a long time ago at Gulf Winds. My good friend Chuck Rice over there used to do this all the time on the port side, on the warehousing side, and somebody would call in and it's something that's just not a good fit for us. Mm-hmm. We go out of our way to take the time to recommend other people to them.
Yeah.
We recommend competitors.
Yeah.
And we do that today. I mean, if it's not a fit for us and it's potentially not a good fit for LMR, well, let's all stop for a second and think, hey, have you talked to this guy over here? You just never know. Like, you're giving and people really, really appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
They really, really do. And then chances...
And it takes 5 extra seconds to do.
And chances are, it comes back to you. They come back to you. Maybe that person on the other side receives it. They send you a referral.
Yeah.
Because, look, at the end of the day, like, none of us are big enough companies. Even the biggest bulk carriers out there can't do everything for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not feasible.
Yep.
So get them to the person that can really make them successful.
Yeah.
And people appreciate that.
Man, and you never know where somebody's going to end up, right? Like that person that you talked to that you couldn't help out could be at a huge chemical manufacturing company that becomes your biggest customer.
You never know.
You just never know.
It's networking, but it's also just kind of doing the right thing. Like, if I was on the other side and I didn't know where to go, I would really appreciate somebody being like, hey, man, I can't help you, but have you talked to Alex over there?
Yeah. And
let me give you his number. Or, hey, I'll shoot a quick email, put you guys in touch with each other. I'll back out.
Yeah.
And then if something comes up, call me.
Yeah. The warm intro, man. There's a science to it.
Yep.
So, where can people learn more about Grammer and what you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, we're all over LinkedIn. From a business standpoint, I would say, our LinkedIn page, has always got a lot of stuff going on. Our website, www.grammarlogistics.com, has a ton of information on it. We're on Facebook as well. I'm always available. I mean, Patrick Maher, you can look me up on LinkedIn and get you to the right person, to our company or just to connect. We'd love to do that.
Yeah. And then any closing thoughts you got about transportation industry as a whole? Like where do you want to kind of see this thing go in the next 3 years for you guys?
I think it's exciting because as the economy picks up, right, U.S. manufacturing picks up, bulk transportation, equipment leasing, everything in our space will be in more demand than it is now. I think everybody would probably place a bet on that, and that's really exciting. I mean, I think it's a great industry. It's a very close-knit industry. I've learned that over the last 4 years. Go to NTTC and see whether it's the Heil Trophy or Driver of the Year, and you see the engagement from the industry.
You had a guy get nominated for Driver. He won, right?
He won this year. Yeah. Mark Schroyer. Mark Schroyer, our driver, won NTTC Driver of the Year.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So Mark, just a quick plug for him in his story, but a guy that's been driving for 40 years, has been up for it a couple of times. Very competitive award if you don't know about it. Very competitive to win that. It's a huge honor in the industry to win it. You not only win the award, but then you're part of NTTC and being an ambassador for the industry for the next year. Being a speaker, being out there, really representing all drivers. So you win the award. It was a great award for Mark. It was a great award for Grammar drivers, right? But then he's now representing, everybody. 3.5 million safe miles. The next closest in that category had, I think, 2.3.
Wow.
So Mark's, just been a great driver for a long time. It's been cool because some of the customers that Mark's dealt with over the years, now we've let them know about Mark. There's a couple instances where they're actually throwing an awards party at the plant for Mark.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, there's a Mark Schroyer Day coming up at one of them here in August in Ohio. So the customers are even now going, wow, this is pretty awesome. This guy's been here. He's the one of the top drivers in our industry. And they're kind of playing a part of it now too.
And it's a team effort, right? I mean, it looks good as Grammar as a whole, right? Because the driver doesn't do it by himself. I mean,
yeah, he represents all drivers, and he doesn't just represent the drivers too.
Ops team,
safety team, equipment team, like they all are part of that award. Right? The whole company's part of it. Yeah. And so it's just been really, really special over the last couple months. We did a big Mark Schroyer Day at our corporate office. We've just done a ton of stuff around that, just to celebrate him, let people know his story that's out there, and it's just been really neat.
That's cool, man. Well, Patrick, I appreciate you coming on. You can catch us, matlackleasing.com. If you need trailer leasing, you can find me, Alex Steakley on LinkedIn. So we'll see you next time, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Chemical Reactions presented by Matlack Leasing. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. Until next time. Special thanks to Matlack Leasing, presenting sponsor of our podcast. When it comes to liquid bulk trailer leasing, Matlack is your go-to expert. Whether you're transporting chemicals, food-grade products, or other liquids, Matlack Leasing provides the reliable trailers you need for safe and efficient delivery. Choose Matlack Leasing for unmatched quality and service. Visit matlackleasing.com today to learn more.